thank you for coming on the show. I'm so psyched because I'm such a big fan. I know the Roots. Yes.
He's so nervous.
He's nervous. He's excited about the Roots. Yeah. I think, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, we're touching your desk. I've always wanted to touch the desk.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
A decision was made too quickly, without warning. Schedules were cut. Contracts were postponed. Magnolia suddenly changed its management. Joanna withdrew from all media activities. Chip canceled all press meetings. No one spoke out. But what happened was enough for people in the industry to know something big had happened. A conversation is interrupted. A tacit agreement is broken. And those who thought they knew the couple begin to see a different side. Tense, uncontrolled, and completely unplanned. From that moment on, things began to deviate from the trajectory they had kept for 2 decades. You take it around the corner, and you could add a pool one day. You could do all her raised bed gardens. You could lock Chip up. The goalies ended up going with the tire swing house. In March 2018, Fixer Upper officially ended its run. The show that had catapulted Chip and Joanna Gaines from a home-repairing couple to national television icons. I won't break it. There's an 86% chance I will. Okay, but there's a 12%. Give me those sunglasses and put those. But after its final season, what viewers saw were no longer networking events, media events, or joint projects. Schedules were canceled, and press conferences surrounding the Magnolia brand were canceled without explanation. Joanna stopped showing up for the annual community events in Waco, where she had been a face for years. We are in Waco, Texas, at the ever-popular and famous Magnolia Farms, and we are pretty excited. Chip was absent from 3 consecutive fundraisers that he had previously attended with his family. Both of their official social media pages remained the same for weeks. No updates, no responses. Joanna stopped sharing personal posts for nearly 2 months. The familiar series of family photos on Easter and Thanksgiving, which were posted regularly every year, no longer appeared. On the official Instagram account of the Magnolia brand, the content was significantly reduced. Interactions were reduced, and there was no mention of activities with the couple's presence. At the same time, several product promotion events were canceled on the day of the event, with the only reason given being internal planning changes. At the same time, some of Magnolia's retail partners reported delays in their contracts at the request of the executive team. Media outlets stopped pushing Joanna-related content. Chip continued to work on some renovation projects, but did not mention long-term plans. At an internal event, the program coordinator said Joanna was no longer directly responsible for the direction until further notice. During the final episodes of Fixer Upper, the production team noticed a number of changes in the way the two worked together. Some filming schedules were shortened, and shoots no longer revolved around the two tackling the entire project together. At one point, Joanna would only appear for the amount of time necessary to complete her narration, then leave the scene as soon as the scene was over. Chip began to take on more of the behind-the-scenes work. The structure that had been balanced between the two was tweaked without any explanation. Meanwhile, at Magnolia headquarters in Waco, a series of high-level meetings were held to pause expansion and reevaluate how the brand operates. According to a member of the product team, most strategic decisions during this period were made without direct consultation with Joanna, which was the exception. Longtime employees noticed a clear shift in roles within the organization. Chip took on more responsibility. Joanna took a back seat. In early May, Magnolia announced it would be pulling out of a major interior design show in Austin, an event it had attended for 4 consecutive years. The reason given was a restructuring of its operating schedule. Event partners confirmed that Joanna had signed up to attend, but did not show up. Chip also did not present on her behalf, as he had done in previous years. Joanna used to manage the entire furniture, homeware, cookbook, and blog content for Magnolia, but in mid-2018, the blog switched to a team-driven content experience. The last post signed, Joanna appeared in April, and her personal signature was not seen on any of her official content until nearly a year later. In late 2016, when Fixer Upper was at the height of its popularity, a BuzzFeed article unexpectedly caused a ripple effect. The content focused on the Antioch Community Church, a church that Chip and Joanna Gaines regularly attended. The target of the attack was not the two people directly, but Pastor Jimmy Seibert, who led the church with public statements opposing same-sex marriage and supporting gender conversion therapy. It is worth noting that the Gaines family was considered a model representative of the community of believers in the area. Their failure to respond or make any statement immediately attracted public attention. Social media reacted strongly. LGBT rights groups began calling for a boycott of the show. Old clips of Fixer Upper were dug up, hoping to find any personal views expressed by Chip or Joanna. But nothing came out clearly. Both remained completely silent. No blog posts, no interviews, no status updates. It was this silence that fueled the controversy. A week later, major entertainment magazines published editorials that not only highlighted the church's role, but also highlighted the Texas traditional Christian brand that Chip and Joanna represented. What drew the public's reaction was their neutrality in the midst of a heated moral debate. People began to question whether their neutrality was a strategic choice or silent acquiescence. Tensions have also been rising within Magnolia. A group of employees proposed an internal discussion to unify the messaging, but the proposal was rejected. Partner brands have demanded assurances that none of their products will be associated with discriminatory imagery. At least 2 television collaborations have been put on hold without official explanation. In reality, the backlash didn't last long, but the aftermath left a deep scar on their otherwise flawless image. Joanna was criticized for shirking her responsibilities as a female leader in the modern entertainment world. Chip was seen as conservative and evasive. Although the boycotts didn't last long, subsequent internal workshops included a layer of media consulting on brand crisis management. The effects lasted for months. The national media partner who had planned to bring Fixer Upper back asked for clarification of brand values before moving forward with any projects. They declined to comment, but stepped back from promotional activities. At this point, Joanna largely disappeared from marketing, leaving much of the operational responsibility to the teams in charge. It was a significant change since day one. She had been the creative soul and face of the entire Magnolia brand. From here, Chip and Joanna enter a new phase, one where they are no longer immune to the waves of judgment. They are forced to carefully choose their words, their appearances, and their small gestures. Things are no longer as simple as when they were just building a house, filming a show, and posting pictures of their children. Magnolia Dream and the price of success. When Fixer Upper became a national phenomenon, Chip and Joanna Gaines were beloved, not only for their home renovation style, but also for the real-life story of a husband and wife team building an empire from scratch. But behind the glamour was a complex machine driven by pressures, conflicts, and trade-offs that the public didn't see. Magnolia started as a small boutique, but after the TV show aired, the pace of expansion was beyond expectations. In just 4 years, they grew into a multi-industry conglomerate that includes real estate, interior design, restaurants, hotels, publishing, lifestyle brands, and even their own TV network, Magnolia Network. That scale requires a level of management that leaves no room for error. Chip serves as the strategic, creative, and external face of the brand. Joanna focuses on content management, image review, product design, and overall quality assurance. It was in this operating model that their personal differences became more and more apparent. Joanna worked according to a plan, meticulously, and detailed down to every line of font. Chip improvised, often changing ideas just before the implementation time. Internally, the Magnolia team had to redo the entire design many times because Chip suddenly changed direction or made decisions without consulting the production team. Joanna, who was known for being quiet in meetings, once had to stop a project just because she discovered the logo was printed in the wrong color. The conflict did not come from arguments, but from the growing dissonance between the two people's operating rhythms. The pressure on the pair came to a head around 2019 when Magnolia Network began negotiating with Discovery to launch its own network. The terms of the partnership, content responsibilities, staff size, and revenue expectations overwhelmed many internal departments. According to a production source, at least 3 projects were put on hold because of conflicts over decision-making authority. One involved the choice of a replacement host for Joanna, something she disagreed with, but Chip supported for brand awareness. At the same time, Chip got into legal trouble with the UN POD Environmental Protection Agency EPA for violating lead paint disposal regulations during a home renovation. Magnolia was fined $40,000. The incident was not a huge financial blow, but it created a major image break. Joanna had to work with the legal department, handle the media crisis, and explain internal procedures to partners. Meanwhile, Chip did not appear in public for the next 2 months. Since 2020, Chip's role at Magnolia has been increasingly blurred at the executive level. He's still on set and in marketing campaigns, but most of the big decisions have fallen to Joanna and the senior management team. This redistribution of power has not been publicized, but it's been palpable in the way the brand communicates. Less ad hoc, more systematic. To outsiders, it's a professionalization strategy. To those close to them, it's the result of a years-long adjustment process. They didn't break up at the time, but looking back, it's clear if there was ever a time when Joanna considered withdrawing from the Magnolia project altogether. It was at this stage that the thought took shape most clearly. Silent turning point. After Magnolia Network officially launched in mid-2021, Chip and Joanna Gaines' media presence has dropped dramatically. They're no longer the center of attention every day. But those who closely follow the couple's movements may notice something important, a shift in how they restructure their personal lives. Most notably, a period of silence and a slow, controlled return. Joanna began to resurface on social media in late 2022, no longer posting photos of events or promoting products. Instead, she posted everyday moments growing vegetables with her daughter, making coffee early in the crew to school. The post took on a lighter tone, focusing on family and personal time. The most notable status during that period: "I missed so much, right in my own home." A short sentence, but reflecting a clear choice to retreat. Chip has also shown some adjustment. He's spending more time in Waco, putting all of his out-of-state real estate expansion plans on hold. Some investments have been pulled, partly for strategic reasons, partly for personal reasons. In rare interviews, Chip has frequently mentioned slowing down as a priority, rather than the rapid expansion model of previous years. This is the first time since Magnolia began growing that both have slowed down at the same time. The most obvious turning point came in early 2023, when they announced a new TV project called The Retro Farmhouse, set in a renovated old farmhouse. Unlike previous formats, the show doesn't focus on technical or design elements. The content focuses on how the two enjoy a simple life, sharing daily routines, even talking about marriage and changes over time. The intimacy and slowness of the show is unlike anything Magnolia has produced before. A special episode aired in November 2023 featured Chip and Joanna hitting the gym together, the first time in nearly 20 years of marriage that they've publicly shared about working out together. "We needed something to connect that wasn't work," Joanna said on the show. It wasn't a media statement, but a personal choice made to remind themselves that commitment doesn't come from a busy schedule, but from being intentional about maintaining a relationship in the little things. In January 2025, Joanna told Entertainment now that the couple had entered a new phase in their marriage where the goal was no longer to build more, but to keep what was valuable. They began restructuring Magnolia's entire operation to be more minimalist, reducing the number of products, focusing on local community service, and hosting more family activities. A campout in suburban Waco with the entire executive staff was held as a commitment to renewing internal morale. "We thought if we did it well enough, everything would work itself out," Chip once shared in a personal video interview. But marriage is about more than that. A short sentence that encapsulates a challenging 3-year process, where the two had to relearn how to live together as two people, not two business partners. Change doesn't come from a single event. It's the accumulation of hundreds of silent days, tense meetings, and unshared moments of frustration. At some point, both of them understand that what's left between them is not the brand, not the company, but a silent decision to stay. What remains over their 2 decades together? Chip and Joanna Gaines have created something that few celebrity couples have: a clear set of values visible in their actions. Not slogans. They didn't just build a house, a brand, or a TV show. They created a way of life where what's more sustainable than fame is the choice to stick with it, even when things get tough. Fixer Upper is just the beginning. Magnolia is a direct result of hard work and entrepreneurial instinct. But the most important part isn't the number of followers, the revenue, or the expansion projects. What sets them apart is how they hold each other together, not by their professional roles, but by the principle they set out to live by. From the beginning, things can change, but this relationship must stay. During Magnolia's heyday, many teams of advisors proposed turning Chip and Joanna into global brand icons. There were plans to expand internationally, to franchise, to open restaurants in major cities. Most were shelved, not because of a lack of potential, but because the duo didn't want to turn their lives into a long-term campaign. They didn't let things get out of hand just to chase exposure. Joanna once turned down an offer to publish her autobiography from one of the largest publishers in the country, despite having a contract drawn up. Her reason was simple: "I haven't lived long enough to tell anything worthwhile." Later, when she chose to publish her own books through Magnolia Books, she didn't write a memoir, but instead shared bits and pieces about food, family, design, and the principles that have helped her maintain balance. No manifesto, just experience and humility. Chip has also been invited to speak at several national business forums. He only accepts invitations where he can share his real story, not in a lecture format. In most of his speeches, he repeats the same thing: "We build everything from the kitchen, not from strategy." Each sentence, each choice, follows a certain value axis. Not too complicated, but very clear: family first, work later, reality over image, people over numbers. Magnolia is no longer focused on expansion or rapid growth. It has quietly transitioned into a platform dedicated to long-term community impact. The majority of profits from its commercial ventures are funneled directly into initiatives that serve local needs, supporting education in underfunded districts, funding career development centers, and building programs that equip young people with practical life skills. These investments are not designed for headlines or public relations campaigns. They are deliberate, sustained efforts meant to create lasting change at the ground level. Chip and Joanna Gaines do not place themselves at the center of every initiative. They have stepped back from the spotlight and no longer tie their names or faces to each project Magnolia undertakes. Their involvement now is measured and intentional. They appear when their presence adds real value, and they allow the trusted team they helped build to carry out the mission with the same principles that defined Magnolia from the beginning. This quiet leadership has become part of their legacy, shaped not by how much they control, but by how well they've passed it on. Their greatest legacy isn't reflected in profits or market share. It lives in the quiet shift they've inspired, how millions now view marriage, ambition, and the space between personal and shared identity. They've shown that love doesn't depend on perfection, that privacy can coexist with public life, and that connection isn't measured by constant proximity. What they've built goes beyond homes, brands, or networks. It's a living example that real strength lies in choosing each other, over and over, without spectacle, without pressure, just intention, consistency, and respect. Careers move in cycles, so does public attention. Recognition comes and goes, trends shift, and even the most celebrated chapters eventually close. But when a relationship endures through all of it, through pressure, reinvention, and years of evolving roles, what's left is something deeper than reputation or relevance. It becomes a quiet legacy, not the kind that's framed on a wall or captured in headlines, but one that's carried through daily choices, steady presence, and mutual respect. That's the legacy Chip and Joanna Gaines continue to live, not by preserving a perfect image, but by honoring a commitment that never needed to be loud to be lasting. As Chip and Joanna Gaines' story shows, sometimes what keeps a relationship strong isn't grand declarations, public displays of affection, or public displays. It's how two people adjust together, stay quiet at times, accept differences, and choose to stand by each other when no one is looking. They don't chase perfection to please outsiders, nor do they need to explain everything to be trusted. They live at their own pace, slower, more real, without the need for grand demonstrations.
And let the quiet,
repetitive actions of each day affirm what's worth keeping. It's a deliberate, unobtrusive choice, but one that's strong enough to last the long haul. If you find this journey thought-provoking, or have seen similar signs around you, please leave a comment below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to continue accompanying us in the next stories, where every detail is worth listening to.